Hello, hello, and we are here live on Love It or Shove It. And today episode is the influence of social media on the relationship. And I'm here, Irina Portnova, with my co-host Bruno Jill and our guest Stefan Zavalli. Hi, Stefan. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. What are you doing, your beautiful work in this world? And we'll dive into this beautiful topic.
I love making humans be humans. That's the work that I do, is creativity and how to creatively showcase humans as being themselves. That turns into so many fun things, and even in relationships, it's going to turn into so many fun things. Because we're going to talk about how my wife and I met online. We're also going to probably talk about how the fact that I proposed using a D&D campaign, which for those of you that don't know, it's a role-playing tabletop board game basically, and we created a specific one for me to propose. But yeah, I love creativity, I love coffee, and I think those are some of the main reasons my wife chose me. That's about it.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. But talk about a little bit about the videos that you're doing.
The videos that I create. So my goal is to make sure that people are themselves on video, that it's not that you have to be a trained actor. Not if you're in business. If you're playing somebody else, yes, but you're playing yourself in life, as surprising as it might be. And somehow whenever we get on video or anything else, we look like somebody else. We try to be something else. We try to be something we are not. And so my whole job in making videos with people is to get them to be just themselves, because you are good enough as you are, but for some reason you are putting a whole bunch of limitations that are stacking up on top of it, and that's showing up in video all the time. And that's my goal. My goal is to make lots and lots of videos with people being themselves.
That's beautiful. I just love what you're doing. So let's just dive into the topics of the influence of social media on relationship. So talk a little bit about the way we were just having the conversation right before going live, and you said, I have this beautiful story to share about how I met my wife online.
Well, I'm going to start with so that's online dating, even further past social media. But it's very interesting how so much of online dating and social media overlap, because online dating profiles are basically now social media kind of stuff. The kind of pictures that you see, it's all there. You can get catfished all of the time. Luckily, I'm not in it with AI. I can only imagine the things people have to deal with now that you can have AI write an entire profile and create pictures that look like anything that you want. And it just makes it that much easier. You don't need to be good at Photoshop. You just need to type in some words into a prompt. But overall, social media, as far as dating, it can be great because it takes away the fear sometimes that you have of, I don't know this person, I can't really get to know this person. If it looks too perfect on social media, it's probably not perfect. Actually, I can say it's definitely not perfect. And just because you don't see the issues, whether that be in other people's relationships that look, oh my goodness, they went to the beach and it was fantastic. It wasn't. They got sandy. Their swimsuits, they got a wedgie. Promise you, it wasn't perfect, because that's the social media. And we as humans feel that we need to showcase all of the positives and only the positives. And life is not always positive. Sometimes it's negative, but that's okay. That's the beauty of it. That's the balance, that it has to be this way. And I think that more and more now in social media in general, in my work, we're seeing the swing in authenticity, which I don't like authenticity, but that's a whole that we can talk about that, but that's a different subject. That if we can really show ourselves and people can tell that it's ourselves, when it comes to dating, they go, ooh, this person seems real. And now that's powerful. If you can get somebody to say that they seem real, I don't know what it is, they just seem real, I think that's going to have the biggest impact on relationships.
That's so beautiful. Thanks for this share. All right, Bruno, do you have any experience with social media, and what is your take on it?
I do. Like, for example, I actually, like, for example, with you, Edina, right? The first time we interacted, I thought you were a scammer, right? For real. I actually believe you were a scammer. And I was like, she doesn't really look like a scammer. But at the same time, like, how many of them, like, how many of them are that good, like. But then obviously, like, we just kind of like started going and going, and we talked and stuff, and then we obviously got in video, and I was like, no, it's impossible. It ain't. That's not possible. But obviously, like, it's very tough because, again, like the influence of social media on relationships. I mean, it's just so easy to look like something you're not. Like, for example, the amount of like, I wouldn't say arguments. I'd say like heated like little things that me and Irina got into because nobody, neither me and her, understood the actual way a phrase, a message was said. I didn't mean it this way. Oh, that's not it, right? I'm like, oh. Or she's like, damn, like, okay. So like, it can be challenging. It can be challenging if you're creating like some sort of like connection or relationship behind the phone to then like get like kind of like better with time. It can be challenging because like the person you are getting to know behind a phone with what it is shown to you, even if it's not real, is ultimately what you're going to 100% believe the person actually is, right? That's why a lot of people then get catfished, because they choose to trust proof that is not really proof. It's just what people want you to see. And everybody does that, right? Everybody only shows you what they want you to see. So when somebody says that's pretty real, if it's really real, then it's really rare as well, right? And to be real nowadays is super original. And that's something like I really like about you, Stefan, which is like, we're not gonna do videos in like the most perfect, beautiful way, like so people, right? So we're not gonna put like all these aesthetics and all of that stuff, right? We're gonna show you exactly the way you are, right? If you're completely fucked up, then you're completely fucked up, and people are gonna love you for that, right? So like, and that's so awesome because like, that's something that needs to be on demand, right? Is to have someone who can showcase the way you are and make it look beautiful, make it look amazing, and more of that, obviously. And yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I mean, I have more stories, honestly, but yeah, we'll keep on going with time.
I wanted to add, because the way we met with Bruno was my social media people were like cold messaging people, right? So they cold messaged Bruno, and he was like, oh, we are following each other on the, on Instagram. And then he was like, are you interested in email marketing? So we are talking about not just, the personal relationship, the connections, but also the professional, right? And it just like, look where it took us. Like, we are collaborating together. We decided to come up with this talk show. But the point is, he got scared that I was the scammer. But the point is, usually women are the ones who think that the guys are scammers, right? And it's like so well known as well. Like, we have to be like really vigilant, because a lot of guys, nowadays, they present themselves who they are not, who they aren't, right? And a lot of times women are like easy targets, especially women who, let's say, haven't been in love and relationship for a long time. And somebody comes along and just, like singing all these beautiful, songs and saying, like, oh my God, like you're everything what I dreamt of. And there are a lot of scammers in terms of like there are stories where people, like women, were actually transferring a lot of money to all these, like guys, which is like something that I want to make aware everybody who's listening to, like, be very, very, careful. And unless you see the person, talk to them, interact with them, like, don't believe in anything they are saying to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it probably goes both ways. You see all the pictures of the Instagram models and all that. It can easily go the other way as well, in the sense of sending money and those things. I agree. I think one of the easiest ways nowadays is if they don't turn on their camera on a video chat, red flag. Granted, if they have a full conversation with you for like an hour and they seem like the person that you've been talking to, but they just don't turn on the camera for the first one, okay, maybe not. There's shyness there. There may be whatever it might be. Still don't send them money. That's not what I'm saying. But but I think nowadays it's a lot easier. And if somebody's willing to put pictures and videos of themselves on social media, but they're not willing to go on camera with you personally one-on-one, just to have a conversation, not anything else in the relationship, that's questionable. That should be a very simple and easy thing to do, because they're obviously not camera shy if they are who they say they are.
So true. And this is a good way just to, like right away, put in these boundaries, right? I always call them, have your own boundaries. If the person that you are communicating is not willing to come on video call, then just, set your boundaries and say, if you're not going to come on the call, I'm not going to continue talking to you. That's as simple as that. Don't entertain yourself, because you never know where it's going to take you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you're worried that they're going to record you on the video or whatever it is, you can turn on the video and maybe not show all of yourself. Or there's an initial thing when you're going, okay, I know that sometimes people are worried that somebody's going to screen record and they're going to put out their videos or something else. But after a while, again, I'm saying the same thing. If you're already on social media and putting your face out there, how is it any different if they just have, a face of you? If we're getting into like nude pics and like all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, that's a whole different territory. You have fun with that. But if it's literally just your face and you're on social media, what's the difference at that point?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's like everything, for the people who are scared of social media interaction or online dating. This is the same as the real world, right? You all also have to be cautious, or you're connecting or you're communicating. So I don't see it any other way different. As long as you know exactly what you're looking for and be cautious about it and have your standards and boundaries. This is also, social media is a great way of, connecting and get to know each other better.
Bruno, I've got a question for you. I mean, really, it's for both of you. I'm curious, but I want to hear Bruno's take on this. So we talked about, being yourself, putting that out on social media. Then there's the flip side of once you're in a relationship, or even if you're just talking to somebody, social media is available. I know you two both talk a lot about jealousy in relationships. Social media allows us to be very easily jealous because you see so many beautiful people out there. They seem perfect. And it's like, oh, are you looking at that? You liked her picture? How could you like her picture? Right? All those things. So in terms of jealousy, how do you feel about this aspect of it's very accessible to us? We know that we all look, it's physiological for us to look at attractive people. It's not a sin. What are your thoughts around that? How far maybe is it okay to go? And maybe it's not, you don't condone this for other people, but you think that it's fair for you. I would love to hear your thoughts.
My thoughts on jealousy. I mean, honestly, I don't like it. I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, you either trust me or you don't. I mean, honestly, like, you either trust me or you don't. Like, you're with me, like, if you know the things that happen around me, and you know the circumstances, and you kind of understand my life and this and that, and there can be some jealousy because some woman says this or some guy says this, and there's always rumors and this and that, and people don't have nothing else to do but talk about other people, right? Because we all know how the world works, right? You cannot be with me if you do not trust me, right? Like, when I get into a relationship, the take on jealousy for me is like, I have a set of rules. I don't want to say rules, because if I say rules, it looks like almost like prison, and there's not the point. It's just like some we'll call it rules, but no prison, right? Because if you don't have the set of rules, then we live in an anarchy, right? And if we live in an anarchy, then everything is, like, everything goes in a relationship, and everything can't go in a relationship, in my opinion, right? So my belief system is that, like, you have to trust me, and you have to kind of tell me the truth and not lie to me and not cheat on me, because jealousy can trigger all that. Because sometimes people feel so jealous, and the way they try to not feel jealous is to do something either good enough or bad enough that makes the person care and makes the person show attention. That's how the majority of people try to remove jealousy. Some people, they will go that far as cheating, right? Because they don't see a problem in that because the main goal is not cheating. The main goal is to get their attention, right? But the reality is that they're still cheating, right? And a lot of people, they go to very, very, very far lengths in terms of like disasters when they could simply sit down and ask like, or say like, like, I don't, is it just me, or like, am I the only one noticing that like we're kind of like diverging ourselves apart? And I think like communication is so important, and like communication can fix so many things, from jealousy to like, from jealousy to misunderstandings, especially misunderstandings, But that's the thing, like, I used to be a jealous person in terms of like, oh, I don't like if she looks at this hair like this, I don't like this and I don't like that. But like, you can change people. You can't. So what do you do when you can't change people? You change yourself, right? And you understand that like, because you cannot change people and you can only change yourself, the only real change you can do is how you view stuff and how you react to that stuff, right? Now you have different ways to react to jealousy, right? You can be aggressive, you can be calm, you can be distant, you can give silence treatment, right? All that because, like you're kind of assuming something you don't even know if it's true. And that's ego, right? And that's your ego talking louder. That's your ego acting in the way that it shouldn't. You're giving that power to your ego because you just simply, you're assuming a thing that you don't know if it's certain, you don't know if it's true, but because it looked true, because it looked in that way, well, people assume that that's a strong enough reason. Oh, I saw it with my eyes. Oh, they saw that. Oh, no, it's not like that. How could you say that? No. But you're not even letting the person speak.
Yeah.
Chill. Take a chill pill, man. Like relax. So yeah, that's.
Irina, what about you? I mean, I'm also just curious if you have thoughts about where jealousy arises from, because I know you're probably. I'm certain you're going to say it's about ourselves. Is that it's we need to deal with our own jealousy. It's not the goal of our partner to fix our jealousy around it. But please, I would love to hear more from you.
Thank you. Beautiful question. Actually, I'm not a jealous person at all, because we already had this conversation, because I stand strong knowing who I am. And I would never even go and check on my husband's phone because I just don't have that habit. And I know that we are all adults, and I fully trust, like Bruno said, I fully trust my partner. And at the same token, we understand that we are all human beings. So sometimes we could just, like go together and laugh. And he's like, oh, look at this, like girl, right? And I would be just playing along with him because I find it fun. I find it fun. I don't find it offended because I know who I am. And I know all my values. I stay strong with that. So if there is any weaknesses coming from somebody else, it's their problem. It's not my issue. So for me, jealousy per se doesn't exist, because if you know who you are, if you love yourself for who you are, if you trust your partner enough, and if something like that, because it's life, right? Things happen in life. So just understand that sometimes things could happen, but just be ready for that. And this is not the end of the world.
And that is such a perfect answer to bring it that whole the jealousy arc full circle to social media, because with social media we now have access to seeing so many other people that if we don't believe that we are worthy, we are good as we are in the ways that we are, and we see all of the things that we're in our minds worse at than other people, be that looks, be that smarts, be that money, success, whatever it might be, then that is just amplified. And that's really what social media ends up doing, is it just amplifies everything that we already feel and think about ourselves. Because at the end of the day, algorithm, no algorithm, you are the one who is choosing what you are looking at and what you are spending time on. And if you're feeding your own insecurities, they're just going to grow.
That's so beautiful, Stefan. And I like that you actually brought it up, because a lot of times social media also could be like that factor where people start comparing themselves, right? Like you said, like I always say, There is always going to be somebody who is more beautiful, who is more smarter, who is more younger, but so what? Just love yourself for who you are and know your value. And you don't have to validate yourself, and compare yourself to anybody else.
Yeah. I think it comes from...
Because, you know what? Let me just make one more point. Confidence could actually erase all other qualities. Because when the person is confident in who they are and what they can offer, everything else is irrelevant. You don't have to be the most beautiful. You don't have to be the most smart. You don't have to be the most young. But if you're freaking confident, you're going to kill everybody else.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say, in the sense of, we tend to think that we need to be the best, the smartest, we want to be the smartest in the room, the most attractive person in the room. Part of it, just as an aside, as a realistic aside, you don't, because you have no idea what it actually takes to be the most beautiful woman or man, whatever that actually means, by the way, because different cultures, different perspectives, it doesn't even mean that. But let's say the standard of Western society, the most attractive woman. It takes work to do some of that. You don't actually want it as badly as you think you want it. And yes, it's the courage. And it's ironic, because it's the same thing in business as well, as people say, they differentiate themselves with saying, we are the best at this. You're probably not. You're probably not the best. You have differentiating qualities that are amazing about you, but it's not that you're the best, the most handsome, the strong. It's not those, and you can find what they are. Lead with those. Those are the most you. And all of that. I feel like Bruno's itching to say something. What you got, Bruno?
Oh no, I was just listening. I was nodding my head, like I was agreeing with you, my friend. I was agreeing with you. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like I totally agree with you. It's, like, you're the best. Your qualities are the best in you. Your qualities are not the best in like Irina. Like your qualities, Stefan, are not the best in me or Irina, right? Because your qualities in me are not my qualities. So I'm just copying you, which means I don't have a light. I'm just shining your light, but that's on you. My job is to shine my light. My job is to be me, say the things that I say, do the things that I do, feel the way that I feel, right? With all my imperfections and all my perfections, right? Be confident about them, shine them, right? Then, like, I think the most beautiful thing about, like, somebody being, like, about you being you, right? The most beautiful thing about, like, you being you, for me, is not so much of, oh, so beautiful the way, like, this person is, like, wow, how courageous is this person, right? It's always the courage. I think, like, what stands out, like, every single time you look at somebody, what stands out in somebody is always the courage. For me, it is, like, for me, and that's kind of a thing that, kind of like, I in all qualities that you have as a human being, the one that I like to see the most in somebody is bravery and courage. But that's me. That's my personal choice, right? That's my personal belief. It's for somebody else, can be something else. But yeah, like, you being you, right? It's always the courage, like, right? Dwayne Johnson made the video, like, a long time ago, saying, like, more in terms of more regarding, like, haters and stuff, right? But I'm gonna try to make, like, a comparison, right? He said, like, we have the guts, we have the balls to go forward, right? We have the guts to do, we have the balls to act, to say, to think, to feel, to take the step forward. And that's it, right? We have the guts to be us, right? And having the literally the balls, like, the courage, the bravery, the ovaries to be ourselves, right? It's like, it's tough, because in so many, like, there's so many celebrities, right? And so many famous people, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to be like him, that is on that, like, that advertisement on TV, looks so perfect with those abs, or I want to be like that woman, in the makeup advertisement, she looks so beautiful with all the powder in her face. A guy kisses her, and the guy probably will be stopped by police, because people is probably already did coke, or something, right? But, like, obviously, like, it's just one of those things where, like, you being you, no matter how fat, skinny, poor, rich, like, no matter what, hair, no hair, it doesn't matter. It's you. and people love you for you. People don't love you because you dress like a Messi or Ronaldo or Tom Brady or like LeBron James. No, like no. In fact, people, I come to the conclusion that like I have came to the conclusion that people get annoyed when you yourself try to be someone else. Like, why trying to be like him or why trying to be like her? Like people actually get annoyed. It's like people don't want you to be you, but then people get annoyed if you try to be somebody else, right?
I,
And
I
it's like,
going off of the same thing of like the best kind of stuff that you are the only. It's the other piece that everybody's not going to like you, and that's okay. They shouldn't. There are billions of people. It's fine. You couldn't handle a million people liking you, and a million people is far less than even 1% of the population. It's less than 1% of the population of the United States is a million people. You couldn't handle. It would be very difficult. I'm curious. So courage, obviously, very attractive for Bruno. What is man, woman, human? What is to you the most attractive quality that comes to mind?
I have the handful. I think generosity and kindness, like really very appealing to me. And I always say the most sexiest organ in the person is the brain. That's like my, like go-to. And confidence, absolutely confidence, knowing that the person has the confidence to go after something they truly like, no matter what everybody around them say, no matter what other believe or not, just being confident and staying in their power.
If I had to pick one, and this is only because I've been saying this one for many years, and I very, very rarely use this adjective to describe people, because I think it's so important to me, and that is clever. To me, being clever, and clever is not smart, clever is not witty, clever is not funny. Clever is just this unique blend that I find few people have, where I just go, there's so much in it. If I had to pick one, it would be clever.
That's so beautiful. Just notice none of us said looks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's exactly what it is. But Stefan, that's exactly what it is. Like, it doesn't matter how people look because we all attract by the energy. So when the person comes in and you just, like that person, let's say, take everybody's attention because of the way they speak, of the way they, behave themselves. So looks are not the most important things.
No, they help. I think it may be a good analogy is food. Presentation is important in food. I mean, a meal, the way a meal is presented could really, really change it. And some of the ways that we have super highly processed foods presented to us, we're going, oh, yes, that's as good. That's the girl with the makeup. Look at those Oreos, whatever it might be, right? But then when we get into the relationship with that kind of food, it is short lasting. It ends up damaging our being, our mind, our body, and soul. So, yeah, I like it.
So, Stefan, talk a little bit about how you met your wife.
So I met my wife online. We used OkCupid. Ironically, she was very lucky. Not because she met me, but she was very lucky because she had almost just kind of gotten onto the dating apps. And I was basically saying, I am done with dating apps. This was already my second round through a lot of them, meeting people, talking to where it ended up being kind of pointless and useless. It was very different for me, partially because I'm blind. And this was after I went through, so I had a parasite and I lost my vision. Dating when you're blind is very different because now you're supposedly able-bodied and all of a sudden you have to tell your date, hey, let's meet at a coffee shop, except if we want to go anywhere, you're going to have to drive me. That makes things, and so it's like, why? In my situation, most people understood. When they heard the parasite, they're like, oh, yeah, of course. And if they said no, I already knew it was not going to be a good date because, to Irina's point, they were probably not very kind and generous. Because if somebody says, hey, I'm blind, the thing that was going for me at the very least is that I had a doctorate. So they knew it wasn't like, oh, this guy's a complete deadbeat. He doesn't do anything and he's blind. I'm not going out on a date with him. So luckily, she said yes. We talked for a while. We had a phone call, and then we went on our first date to a coffee shop because we both love coffee. I wasn't aware, but so there was music playing, and I was dancing while I was waiting in line because that's just the kind of person I am. And she was watching me the whole time. I, of course, didn't know because I was blind. I couldn't tell where she was until afterwards when she was like, "Oh yeah, I was watching you dance the whole time." But I think that's another part. When you really see somebody who is goofy and who's willing to be themselves, it's helpful. It's helpful in that kind of a relationship. And it turned into then a dinner right after that. And then she drove me home. And I made a joke that we were living as sex slaves. And she still went inside the house. I don't know why. Even after that horrible joke, she was like, "Oh, yeah, sure, that's fine." Because we were in a rich neighborhood and we weren't renting, we were just house sitting. So that's why of that entire joke. And basically after that, I think we've spent one day apart since. Like, it was just an immediate of, "Hey, I'm done with all the games and running through all that stuff. I don't want to be trying to find any other stuff. This works. We know that this works pretty much right away." And yeah, and it just kind of, I think literally in a week or so, we just said, "Do you want to just make this official? Because I'm not at all interested in dating anybody else." And this works. So here we are. Years
Such
later.
a beautiful share. Yes. Oh my gosh. That proves the point that, like when, the universe is, bringing two people together, it's just like you mentioned, you were almost done, right, with this app, and she just got in, right? It's interesting how the circumstances are playing out the role. And I just wanted to share because I already shared on other episode, but not everybody was watching. The way I met my husband, it was 23 years ago. At that point, they didn't have dating apps, or I didn't know. I just, I was about to get married to my ex-boyfriend, but then he called it off and it was a big deal. And I was like all broke in tears and everything. He went to the army. He got married over there. So to make a long story short, I was like in that position that I didn't want to hear anything. I didn't want to see anybody. I was grieving like freaking big time. I was grieving. Like I literally felt like I just, buried the person, right? So for me, my girlfriend is like, "Okay, it's time to leave. Like you cannot just put your, life on pause." She's like, "Okay, let's go." She said, "I found this, chat room on American Online, and it was like a Russian group because I felt more safe, like in my culture, knowing my people." So, and it was fun. It was fun, just just talking to different people, and all of a sudden, I felt that I'm still alive. That the life still goes on, right? And then obviously, like I had different dates, and the guys were more like about fun. They didn't look for anything serious, and I was at the stage where I was like, "No, I want somebody serious." And then, but that's how I met my husband to be, right? Because like I said, he really acted differently from others because everybody was like looking for sex. The first time they took me out, I was like, "What's going on with this generation?" And like my husband was like really different, and he was like a real gentleman, and like we talked a lot. We went to the movies, we went to the restaurant, and then like we were talking on the phone so many times, and in 3 months we already moved in together, and in 6 months we got married. So that's how it is. So actually, the beautiful stories happen online as well.
They do. Oh, well, because online just it helps with communication, and throughout all of this, I think I will never be the first or the last person to ever say this when it comes to relationships of any sort. Communication is the most important part. Actual communication, not "I told you." You didn't really maybe tell her. You said something you thought was telling her, but that was not actually telling her. And that's something that's helped us a lot over and over, is because we talk. Nobody told us to do this, but we started from the very beginning of dating every month, right around because we started dating right at the beginning of a month. Every month we go out for coffee and we talk about the relationship. We talk about from each side of us what is going well, what is not going well, and that we are personally upset about. Is there something that we're going to change? And we get into the things that like we're upset about. Are there things that we maybe dislike on the intimacy side as well? It's not always pleasant, but the best part, and this is my absolute favorite part about all of it, is the thing you're afraid to say all of a sudden is received with such kindness because the other person actually cares about you. And the outcome is every single time better than what I thought it would be. That all the bad outcomes that you think are going to happen from actually revealing some of these things and talking to them with your partner about is your insecurities, fears, previous traumas telling you how they're going to react, as opposed to what they're actually going to react like. And that has been completely revolutionary for us.
So true. Bruno, talk to us.
I'm single.
How's
That
that?
we know.
How's being single with COVID? I don't even know what that's like.
No, I'm super single. I'm so single, and that's all right. I love it. I love being single. It's the perfect time for me to be single, you know. And I went from like, oh, I want to be in love and this and that, but you know, I just like there has to be a balance between living in reality and fantasizing about what you want, you know. And I was fantasizing too much. I wasn't living so much in reality. Actually, it was a time where I didn't want to live much in reality because of like many like mental problems I kind of went through, like depression and stuff. So like it was kind of tough. So like at that time I was kind of holding on a little bit, like to like, if I find love, you know, maybe somebody finds me, you know, like attractive enough, and if somebody, you know, like finds me like, you know, like good enough, maybe I am that good, right? But if somebody doesn't love me, then I'm not good, right? So I had to kind of learn how to love myself first, right? But so that's what I learned, right? Like I had like kind of a failed relationship. It really like bugged me up. And from then on, it was like from like 4 or 5 years, it was, you know, like kind of like building the self-love, building. Obviously, I overcame that in like months, right, of the depression and stuff. But you know, like the three biggest lessons in life for a man, I said it's for a man because I'm a man, right? I cannot say it for a woman because I'm not a woman. I'm not in a woman's body. But for me, I think it's like having like, and being broke, a family member dies, or somebody who's close to you, a loved one, or I actually like your heart gets broken, right? And for me, my heart got broken, and it taught me a lot. And it taught me a thing that's like, there's no point in being in a relationship if you don't want to be in one, just because everybody else is in one, right? And right now for me, like I'm just living that life, you know, like I'm living that life of like, you know, like I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I just know that today I am where I am, and I love being me, and I love being the way I am, and I love doing what I'm doing. And you know, when the time comes to be in a relationship, the time will come to be in a relationship, you know. Yes, I do have a lot of like, let's say, you know, like there's always like little urges of like, you know, like, oh, I wish somebody was like here with me now, you know, and like we could cuddle a little bit, you know, and you could have like, you know, like we could pleasure each other and stuff. But you know, like that's normal. It's like that doesn't mean like you have to be strong enough to like, because that's not love. That's just, you know, you're just needy. Everybody's needy once in a while. That's all right. Like the point is not like to you never feel those things. The point is feeling those things, accepting them, and letting them go, right? And I think it's important to like be mature enough, because if you're not mature enough to think like that, you're going to ruin your life, and you're never going to be nothing in life, because you eventually become a slave to your emotions, right? And because it's comfortable and pleasurable, it's pleasurable in the moment, but the regret and the shame that you have of yourself after is way higher than the pleasure you felt before, right? And yeah, you know, it's just like I don't want to end up like that, you know. I especially because as a man, I'm very traditional, not toxic, traditional. So like I like to. It's sort of much about having people respect me. It's about like me respecting myself. I wouldn't respect myself if I was a slave to my emotions. Or whatever. Yeah, kind of my take on it. Yeah.
So what I really appreciate about what you said is that you build self love, that it wasn't just like, and then I just loved myself. Because I think that, like, it's a process. You can't. And so I'm curious from your perspective of it. Do you feel, not that I want you to give us a percentage, but I'm guessing you're still working on loving yourself. Like it's almost a never ending journey that where you'll uncover things here or there, that it's
We always,
constant.
yeah, we're always working
Can
on
you share
ourselves.
anything lately where you're like, where you maybe realized, for me, like my body image is a constant thing of being like, no, you're okay, you're worth it, it's fine. You are harder on yourself than your partner is about how the way that you look. That's my big thing constantly. Is how I physically appear. Would you be willing to share any of yours that maybe have crept up for you lately where you're like, wow, I thought I fixed this, but I'm still working on loving this about myself?
Yes, for sure. Oh my God. My patience. Fuck, my patience. My patience. I swear to God, like it's a never-ending thing. Like my patience is a never-ending thing, and like I know I could be so much better if I was just a little bit more patient. But I swear to God, like I have moments where I'm like, I'm gonna kill you. I swear to God, I am, and I'm gonna do it right now. And if I don't do it, I'm gonna go to jail. I swear to God. But then like if I like if but that's the thing, like it's really bad because like it's just like it comes to a moment where like I actually like decide that it's not like a reaction, it's like an actual like decision, and it's wrong, and I'm like, but I'm getting much better. Like that's the thing, like I don't have a problem in saying it because I'm getting so much better. It's like I'm able to breathe much, and that makes me love myself more, right? Because like this preconceived idea that like like as a man, like the higher and the louder you speak, the more masculine you are, and that's not true, right? If you're strong enough to do things that are they almost legal, and that's actual strength, well, it's not, right? And I think real power and truly masculine behavior comes from knowing what you can do, but you don't do it because it's not right and it's not the time, right? It's knowing how to control yourself, right? And at the same time, for me, that's the most important thing for me is learning how to control myself. Like I know I can beat you in a fight, and I know that my words are too good for me to not win an argument, and I know how I can use my qualities so well, right? Your chin breaks the floor because of how much it fell. Like I know that, but I'm not gonna do it because what's the point? I don't win anything, right? It's that like ego killer, like it's the ego killer that makes me see a whole new perspective of life.
Mhm.
And right now for me that's my way of showing love to myself, because and at the same time maintaining all the attributes that I developed, right? And I'm gonna and then again, like you see, life for me is evolution, right? And it is, right? And the only the reward you get out of struggle is wisdom, right? And the reward you get out of life is evolution, right? And everything is connected because struggle makes you grow. So like nobody likes to suffer, right? But suffering for me, as a bit fucked up as it's going to sound, struggle for me makes me kind of like feel like a man, right? Especially because of my traditional way of being. Can be a little bit of a toxic behavior to think, but it does make me feel like a man. The difference is that like I struggle. If the struggle comes to me, I know why it comes. It's for a reason. It's for my evolution, right? I know there's something out there greater for me, but I need to suffer now, right? So then I can be ready for what is for me, right? Because I could never be ready for that, right? A long time ago, I suffered I public humiliation, right? And I really felt it, and I felt it in my intuition, and that's literally people's biggest fears, right? and I felt broke. I felt like people were like breaking everything inside of me, because I felt like I was taking those hits and I did not know how to like protect me, right? So I got like an anxiety attack, right? I felt like I felt spiritually raped. Let's say it, right? I felt spiritually raped, and it broke me so much, so much, so much. I spent 3 days. This was months ago. I spent 3 days like in the dark, because I wasn't hungry. I wasn't whatever. I was just like, I want to die. Like that was it. I just wanted to die. But again, like obviously, like I went forward. I went for better. I went for more, right? And I'm still alive, obviously, and I'm still here and whatever. But it's for a reason. It's up to you to kind of know why, right? And at the same time, like, you have to be conscious and you have to be humble enough to be confident and say, the majority of people would have probably committed suicide based on what happened. And you know that because of the way you felt, right? People know what it is like to do whatever, right? What is probably the percentage of people, right, that would have taken a step forward in towards change? How many people would even thought it would be possible for you to come back from a situation like that, right? And you know that because of the way it hit you, because of the way you felt, right? And it's always about the way you feel, because usually people think like, oh, the harder it feels, the tougher it is, right? And it is. If it feels really hard, you just have more work to do, but that's fine, because that's when like real people are tested, men and women, right?
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of the way of feeling, Arena, I do want to hear your take on that, by the way, as well. I know you're Mrs. Perfect. You love yourself fully and 100%, but I just beg for that 0.0000001% that still recurs every now and again for you. What is something that you maybe struggle a little bit on repeatedly teaching yourself to love about yourself again?
Well, I was about to share the practice that I do to increase the self-love. Can I do that instead?
Yeah, well, I think those go hand in hand. Share the thing that you struggle with, and then tell us the practice and how you would use it to improve it.
yes.
What I'm struggling with, it's a good question. Am I struggling with something? I can't say that I have something like really, in my face. But I know that we all here, like we all have our flaws, and it's okay to accept it. And what I, appreciate about myself, I'm very open. Like if people see that I'm just, like coming too strong, right? Because I always kind of compare everybody to myself, right? Why that person can't just talk, speak up? Why that person just, doesn't stand up for themselves, or why this person doesn't do anything about it, right? So I'm like, I'm learning more to let go of the control, which I'm doing pretty good. But there is still area to, work on. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Be more conscious about that and accepting the people for who they are, and know that everybody on their own journey, and you cannot make everybody be the way you want them to be, right? So this is, I think, like one of the areas I'm still working on, knowing that it's okay for people to be where they are and accept them for who they are. And if they don't want to do something, just, be okay with them. Don't push them. Don't tell them what they're supposed to do, because they are the ones to decide for themselves. So this is something I'm working on. And in terms of like loving myself, I just do the affirmations every morning. I stand in front of the mirror and I share on another podcast. These are the words that I'm saying. I just stand in front of the mirror, looking deeply in my eyes. And I just say, I love you, Irina. You are the magnet for love. I'm getting better and better every day in every way. And that just set me up for the day. Because no matter what, you know what, Stefan, just another comment, no matter what, we have to learn how to love ourselves. Because we were never raised with that, right? Nobody taught us. All we knew about how to criticize, how to be, you know, negative on ourselves and all the time blame ourselves for something. So now we are relearning, right? We are like reprogramming our mind with something more powerful, with something that gives us more benefit rather than, you know, being judgmental and negative and always saying that we are not enough. Not that I wasn't like that. Yes, of course, at some point I was, but it all takes practice and understanding that it's not serving us any good.
Do you say your affirmation in English or in Russian?
That's exactly how I say in English.
Okay.
That's exactly the words. Yes.
I have interestingly found that if I can truly feel it, if I can say it in Russian and truly feel it, since Russian was my first language, it is so much more powerful. It speaks to some deeper part of me. I had to get speech therapy several years ago because the muscles around my throat were tightening up from me doing a lot of public speaking, singing, all sorts of things. And we found that when I tried to say a syllable, even just a vowel, even just like an A, if my head was thinking an A in English, everything tightened. And if I went in Russian and just thought that it was part of a Russian word, everything relaxed. And that it is so attached to me from my initial language. And it's that much harder for me to do affirmations in Russian because I have to believe that thing to my core. And if there's even an ounce of doubt, it feels fake to say it in Russian. But I have no problem saying it in English. So I was curious. It's an interesting thing.
No, it's just for me, like I use these languages interchangeably. But my point is that I learned that there was like one man on video that I watched him. He was like introducing that affirmation. I learned from him. He was talking in English and that's how I took it. And it's been over the year that I'm saying that. And it works.
What's changed over the year for you? How's
Well, a lot of things changing, right? Because we never stay, we always, you know, grow and evolve. And just, you know, more confidence, more, you know, like appreciation for who I am and knowing that whatever I'm doing it because that's how it should be on my path. So just acceptance, appreciation, and understanding that, you know, no love is more enough, you know, like enough. It's always, you could always love more the same way you could always love yourself more, the way you could always love everybody else around you more.
Yeah.
Stefan, we really wanted to hear the story because, you know, before we wrap up, it's so beautiful. Like you have to come back for the show. But we wanted to hear the story. Remember you said how you proposed to your wife.
Sure. It is quite a. I will make it relatively short. For those of you who don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, something you may have heard, also known as D&D. It is a disservice to say that it is a board game, largely because most people now don't play it with a board. It's really, you get to play an act and it's storytelling, but yet it's a game. You get to be these different characters. It's very, very fun, and it's unlike anything that I've really experienced before. We got into it with my, at the time, girlfriend, and I had a friend that he used to play it a lot, and so I asked him many times. I was going, "You've met her, you know me for a long time. Is she the right one? Should I propose to her? Like, I don't know. Am I making a mistake?" And he was like, "This is not something I can tell you to do or not do." He was like, "One thing I can tell you for sure is I'm not going to tell you not to propose, but I'm definitely not going to tell you to propose. That decision is finally yours, but she's not a bad match. I don't see any red flags for you to push away from." And so in the end, what happened is that he designed an entire story around it. So we incorporated her favorite animals. various parts. The ring, for example, that I got her was a ring that we find in the story. And so there was all these various pieces. The final, there's a cave that we go into. And when you unlock the whole thing, the map of it is actually a heart that it's supposed. Ironically, he made it an anatomically correct heart and not like the usual little heart shape that people do. It's still a heart. And so she had absolutely no idea. And what happened is it was right around Christmas time. And she felt really, really sick on the day we were supposed to play. Because to her, all that we were supposed to do was just play a game. She had no idea what was happening. And so she canceled. So she said, oh, no, I have a headache. It's really just not good. I have to cancel. And I thought, oh, my goodness, of course, this is the day that she cancels. What are we going to do? I can't say, no, we have to play, because she'll get very suspicious about what in the world is happening. So we push it a week. Luckily, it's the holidays. So it's right around New Year's is the next weekend. People have time off work. It's fine. I got COVID in the time of that week. So we're playing it online. Some people are in Nashville. Some people are in Los Angeles. We're all on our computers. We're playing. And it gets to the point where finally we're at the end, back in town with the ring. We're ready. Everybody's that knows and are in on it are basically giving me the eyes of like, Stefan, come on. There's nothing else. You have to go do the thing you're supposed to do. So, and there's a video of this actually online. So I do run downstairs. She has no idea. I have COVID, and I go, I think the only thing left to do is ask you, will you marry me? And she runs off camera, and there's a literal moment where she goes, can I kiss you? Because I had COVID. At that moment, we weren't even sure. We just said, yes, it's safe. Go ahead. Why not that one time? So obviously she said yes. And it's kind of been that way ever since. But it was a creative way to do something in the middle of the pandemic that also still is memorable, unique. And now we have a video forever. So that is the story.
Beautiful. I love it. I love like all the creative ways, because like I said, creativity could take us a long way. And it's interesting, it's unique, it's something, like she would remember, and you as well remember for the rest of your life. So it's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. It's a great, great story. Well, as much as we love to chat more, it's the time. Just wanted to say thank you so much, Stefan, for being with us today. We love for you to come back to the show. And any last words, let's just say the last words to the audience for everybody who's watching.
Communication. I know I already said it before, but even with this, it's been communicating. We're talking to all of you and sharing our lives experiences. You've heard amazing things from Bruno and Irina as well. So it's communicate and don't be afraid of it.
Bruno?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Stefan said very well, like communication, but for me, patience. Think patience and like patience and trusting. You trust your partner. It suits well. Trust me. Yeah.
Thank you. And for me, don't be scared of social media. Go and explore. I am all about just being, living the life to the fullest. Like, just be fearless, and life is limitless, right, Bruno? That's our favorite expression. Sure. So just, go, enjoy, have fun. Don't be scared, because the more you become afraid, the more situations you're going to create for yourself where this is always going to come up in the reality. So just have fun, entertain yourself, and just be careful. Just remember about all the red flags to check on, and just be yourself. Thank you so much. It was beautiful. See you next week, and have a beautiful, beautiful week. Bye, everybody.
Bye all.